So today we're going to have a conversation about what you can do if you want to see change happen at your shelter, or if you live in a county where there is no shelter and you're feeling frustrated for any number of reasons. And there are things that you can do as a citizen of a county that has a shelter that is maybe not operating at the level with which you would like it to, if there are too many animals dying there, or if you just don't have a shelter. There's a way around it. So I have a really special person here to talk about this. Candace has got a ton of experience in this. Not only is she a rescuer, and one of my rescue heroes. She runs Simply Grace Kennels, which is part of Forever Paws. I always want to say Paws Forever. Did I get it backwards? Paws Forever?
No, it's Paws Forever. You're good.
But she has also started an organization called the Georgia Animal Companion Advocacy. I'm going to get that one wrong too. Georgia
Companion Animal Advocacy.
Okay, I was there. Georgia Companion Animal Advocacy. Oh, I can't see the word today. Anyway, she knows a lot more, and she's much more articulate in talking about it than I am. So we're going to have a conversation, and we were going to put lots of information in the notes so that you can look this stuff up on your own. But hopefully this is going to give you a place to start if you are frustrated with your shelter and what's happening with animals in your community. So first of all, Candace, I want to start with why and how is the welfare of a community's animals political? Because many of us are thinking this is I got to go to my shelter and fix this, but the solutions, I think, start further beyond that in the political arena. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, most counties have a Georgia-run animal control. And who pays for that? The taxpayers. And a lot of people forget that their tax-paying money goes for those shelters. And so you want to hold your officials accountable for the tax-paying money to run that shelter effectively. If you have a good shelter run effectively, it's managed effectively, then your county, you'll see it in your county. You're going to have less strays. You're going to have more spay neuters, reduced euthanasia rates. Yeah, so the first part of it is you want to have your county commissioners and everybody effectively knowing what's going on with the animal shelters. You need a consistency there. It's your tax-paying money, and people forget that. People forget that they pay for these entities to run.
Right. Ultimately, the buck stops with not the shelter, but with the county officials. And so they actually have the final say on what kind of money is spent and what a shelter can do, correct?
Yes, right down to the county ordinances. The ordinances that are placed for county and city, those are your lawmakers. You put them in place. So them being in place, have a conversation. And that's what me and you are talking about today, is how to have a conversation with these people about changes that you want to see.
Right. So what do you do? So if you're not happy with what the situation is in your community, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you find out who you even talk to?
Well, we always repeat: research, educate, propose. Those three things are your key items. So if there's a problem in your shelter, you want to research what that actual problem is. You need to get to the meat of it. Is it the ordinances that are put in place? Is it the sheriff and the lawmakers not really prosecuting people for animal cruelty? What is the problem? Once you find out what the problem is, that's your research. Then you're going to educate. You're going to start talking to your county, to other people in your area. You know, hey, do you realize this is going on? So once you educate yourself and then you start looking at the numbers, these people really gravitate towards numbers. So when you start putting money towards, hey, you could spend less money. You know, I figured out that the county shelter is doing X, Y, and Z, and they're spending X, Y, and Z to do this, but we could cut that by doing this. So you want to always make a proposal. If you educate yourself, you educate others, then you make a proposal of what the change could be to bring that funding down. They're going to listen to you. They're going to listen a lot more than somebody that just comes to them and gives them a problem or tells them the problem, but they don't have an answer to it.
Right, because a lot of these people are not people who necessarily are even, know a whole lot about their shelter or have even taken an interest in that shelter. So they may not realize it's a problem. So if you just go in there spouting off that everything's wrong at the shelter, they're gonna need they need a lot more help in making something happen there.
Yes,
Gonna change.
yes.
Right.
And right now I'm doing that myself. I'm going back to my county. We've not changed our ordinances since 2001.
Wow.
And so I am dedicated. That is my thing right now is dedicating them to make some changes. Um, and in doing that, I'm trying to educate others so they can join me. So I'm not one person fighting for this alone, but I'm many, many voices right here in our own community. And that's what you have to do. It
Right.
can't, one voice is the start of it,
Right.
but you need many, many other voices behind you to help push the agenda, and it shows community support for wanting change.
Right.
So
So do you recommend people start with like pick one issue, one piece of this and focus just in on one little, one small change that can happen and start there, or trying to trying to bring about a change of mindset? Which way do you think they should go about it?
you've got to change their mindset. That's one way, but
Mhm.
also pick one thing. Like for me, a dog house. Right now, our ordinance basically says you could take two sticks, put it together, and make a dog house. Um, that's that's not a dog house. That's, I can't change the perspective of people not wanting to bring their dogs in their house. But if I can change the perspective of making it a more livable and more comfortable situation for the dog that has to live outside, that's the goal.
Right.
And
That's brilliant.
so, yeah, it's not always thinking above and just shooting for the moon. Sometimes we just need to shoot for the smallest little piece of dirt. And that dirt's going to grow into a pebble, and then the pebble's going to be a rock, and then we're going to have something. So
Right.
yeah.
And get your foot in the door at the same time. I
Yeah.
know how hard this is going to be.
Yeah.
So what if you're in a county, and I know there's some in Georgia, I know there's some in Tennessee. What if you live in a county where there's not even a shelter? There's no shelter at all.
Well, again, you're going to have to do the research, the education, and the proposal. So it's still going to be the same thing. You're going to have to educate the county commissioners on what the issues are, strays, overabundance of animals that are unspayed and neutered. You're going to have to put real numbers on the table. And then you're going to have to propose how does our county get a shelter? Used to, it was not that simple. Now we have grants that are available for counties that come forward that want to put in a shelter. So you have grant opportunities that are through your own local state. Now, those grants, not everybody knows how to find them grants, but most states have a grant writer, and they can look them up easily. So it's just a matter of your county actually physically wanting to do something, but you've got to show them what that problem is, and you've got to educate them on that problem, and then you've got to bring the proposal to them. There are some places where people are love of animal, they have a piece of property, and that's a lot of times where it will start. They'll donate their piece of property for a local animal shelter. So it's involving others as well. You've got to get other people in this education, and then you've got to get other people to follow along and help brainstorm and come up with proposals. I suggest having 2 or 3 different proposal options when you go in. So that lets them know that you've done your homework. Now you need them to follow through.
Right. So if you're, this is, so if you're in your county and you are motivated and you want to make a change, how do you go about finding the person? It's probably a really simple question to most people. How do you go about finding the people who ultimately, I'm sure it's different, maybe it's not, state to state, county to county, but like, how do you find out who is in charge or who is above your shelter? The shelter could fall under what? Department of Agriculture, could fall under, I've seen it under waste management. I've seen it under transportation. Like, how do you find that? Do you know, is there a simple way to do that, figure that out?
No. Most states it is under it is under the Department of Ag. Very few states it falls under, what is it, DNR.
Natural resources.
Yes, natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
But most states it's going to fall under ag. And
Right.
there's usually a local ag office in your area. Most counties have a local ag office. And so a lot of times you can go in and have a conversation with them and just ask them, do you know,
Yeah.
And your county commissioners will know as well.
Right. So just asking a few questions and trying to find that out. It's really interesting, but it's a whole nother conversation about falling under the Department of Agriculture. I guess there's not a natural place for it to be. I'm not sure if that's where it should be. I almost think it should be under Human Services, but that's a whole nother conversation. So once you've found this person, once you've tracked them down or these people down, what are the kind of questions that you should ask political candidates that are running for office that want to, that you want to have some kind of influence, or you want to figure out how they're going to affect the shelter situation in your county?
Your county commissioners and your judges, your local law enforcement and your sheriff, they're all going to run for your local stuff. You need to have a conversation with them. I like to invite them out for a cup of coffee, just because I know I'm going to get at least 20 minutes. That's going to give me at least 20 minutes of their attention. And you tell them, you familiarize them with the animal issues that are in the area. But not only do you put the animal issues in there, you need to familiarize them with the fact of how animal issues can cause communities to be unclean and unhealthy. Educate them on things that are important to them. Just because animals are important to us may not be important to them. So you want to bring in the fact of, you know, unhealthy communities. You want to point out the fact of, you know, the link between domestic violence and animal violence. You want to point it because a lot of these people are very child advocates. They're very in for the children. And once you start showing them that, hey, children at home that are being abused, guess what? Their pets are too. Then you've made that link for them, and it's like a light bulb that goes off in their head. And
Mhm.
then you start pointing out, you know, hey, I know you're interested in trying to get the drugs off the streets. Well, guess what? Most of those drug dealers are fighting dogs, or
Mhm.
they're doing cockfighting. So you can't have the one without, sorry, you can't have the one without the other. And so that's part of you educating yourself, and then you bringing that to their attention, because most people have no clue that all of these things link together. If you come at them, let me say this nicely. If you come at them like a tree hugger, and they are going to just swap you away like a bad fly. So you have to come at them with something that means something to them. And most of them have children or grandchildren. And that is typically where I start. When I have a conversation, how many kids do you have? Oh, you've got grandkids? I do too. Well, let me tell you, do you realize that having dogs wandering the streets are unsafe because your grandkid or your child might get bit? You know, do you realize that um, the house down the road is doing drugs and they have dogs too? You may want to look into that because there may be more involved than just drugs. So you want to find a common ground and then share the common ground with an animal. It puts it in perspective for them. They don't realize it till you point it out. So
Right. This is
sorry.
all such good information because I think that's where we always go in expecting a battle, and it makes much more sense to find some common ground and then go from there to say that I'm not here to like argue with you. I'm here to join with you to solve a problem that you might not even realize exists. So
Yeah.
it's good advice. So I don't want to drag this on forever, but I have a really big question. So what do you believe would have the biggest impact on the number of unwanted animals in any county?
Obviously spay and neuter. Um, but we're under a huge vet shortage. Every
Mm,
state is. But I still think there are ways around that. Keeping your dogs fenced in. So if a female is not fixed, then don't let her roam free. Keep her fenced in until you can get her to the vet. Even my personal vet is 2 or 3 weeks out on appointments. We've never been that bad. I've been able to call and get a dog in within 2 to 3 days. Now we're waiting 3 and 4 weeks. So you have to yourself take responsibility on some of this until we can get more of a handle on things. And this is where also are your representatives at the capital level, your local capital, not the White House. Everybody thinks that um, voting for the next president is the biggest thing. Well, guess what? It's not. They don't live in your town. They're not there for you. They're there for more of a national platform. What you have to concern yourself with is the ones that are around, which is your local representative, your senator, your house representative, and your senator are the ones that are speaking for you at your local capital and for what your community and counties need. So those are the ones you need to be having conversations with, because guess what? They're the ones that can put spay neuter for your whole state. You can be a spay neuter state, you can be a no kill state, you can be a no chain state through your representatives.
Well, this is super helpful. Candace, what else, can you want to give us anything else? Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up in terms of giving people advice or encouraging them to try to bring some real change and not throw their hands up and walk away and feel like it's impossible?
Yeah, I guess the biggest takeaway is to remember your local government is high priority. Your city and your county councilmen, your judges, your sheriffs, all of them people play a key importance into making your community a healthier animal community. And a lot of people don't take stock in that. And then a lot of people also, well, I'm just voting for that person because their daughter goes to my church. Well, do they share your views? Have you sat down and talked to them? Don't just vote for somebody because you know their family and they're a good family. What skeletons do they have in their closet? What skeletons do you have in yours? So, so educate yourself and then educate them. And that's the biggest key to this is we have to get more localized, more local people interested, and more of your people that you pay their taxes, your taxes they pay them to sit in the seats that they have. And we have to remind them of that, and we have to remind them that there's more to just a local animal shelter. We want a healthy community, and we
Right.
need them to do that. We need. So anyway, that was my takeaway.
Well, that's so helpful because we need to have effective shelters, and it just that they're a community resource, a community center, and we've seen it in other states in the Northeast, especially. You see these communities that do not have the animal problems that you find in many other parts of the country, and when it comes down to it, it's because their local government has invested in it. They've invested in a shelter that is working, and a shelter that probably has a veterinarian on staff that is, who is actually, making this happen. And that's why they have room to take these dogs that are coming from southern states generally, but other places too. And so we can get there. That's what I appreciate having this conversation, because that's part of what we do as Who Will Let the Dogs Out, is we believe it's so fixable if people just were aware. So if we can raise awareness, then we can make this change. And you're saying the same thing, in that if you can make your local officials aware of the situation, then you can bring change. But if they don't even realize there's a situation, or that there are people who care about the situation, it's
Yes,
just going to continue, and we're going to continue to just try to rescue our way out of this, and we can't. We need to solve the problem. So I really appreciate you taking time and having this conversation with us. We are going to put information in the notes. Some of Candace has got some great material. We'll put information on the Georgia Animal, oh my gosh, Animal Advocates Coalition. We will put that in there so that you can find them and you can get more information. And I'm sure you can reach out to Candace. She's a wonderful resource who can give you some advice on how to handle a situation in your own area. So thanks for watching this. Please share it. Please talk to people, because without some awareness, we'll never bring change. So tell someone.